in anti-gravity assistance. Now, I'm not saying true anti-gravity propulsion, but using conventional physics and our knowledge of electromagnetism, they were offsetting the effects of gravity as early as 6 decades ago, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, national security is the reason why you have not been made intimately familiar of this already. The next quote up. When Rich was asked how UFO propulsion worked, he said, "Let me ask you, how does ESP work?" The questioner responded with, "All points in time and space are connected." Rich then said, "That's how it works." Folks, when we come back here in just a bit, I'm going to share with you these most recent disclosures made by NASA once again. We'll talk just a bit more about Ben Rich. I hope you'll listen to our sponsors and support them, folks. They're what makes the wheels turn round. See you in a moment. And folks, welcome back to the Crimson Pill radio program here on Republic Broadcasting Network on Saturday, July the 23rd of 2011. We're talking today about more of NASA's disclosures, and I'd like to read one more quote or idea shared by Dr. Ben Rich, former Lockheed Skunk Works director. And it reads, "There are 2 types of UFOs, the ones that we build and the ones that, quote, they build. We learned from both crash retrievals and actual hand-me-downs. The government knew and until 1969 took an active hand in the administration of that information. After a 1969 Nixon purge, administration was handled by an international board of directors in the private sector." Now, folks, there's a lot of different directions that I would like to go right now. I would like to share a quote from President John F. Kennedy, along with some theory about perhaps what led directly to his demise. There's also some information from Dwight Eisenhower. But frankly, before I get to those different sources, I do want to make sure that we talk about NASA's latest disclosures. First, from space.com, dated the 22nd of June, so just yesterday, a month ago and a day ago roughly. The title of the article is, "Icy Saturn Moon May Be Covering a Salty Sea." The moon of Saturn that we're talking about is called Enceladus. It has been a most intriguing moon. NASA let us know, I believe in the neighborhood of a decade or more back, that Enceladus, in fact, had an atmosphere, something that was uncommon in the moons that we had tended to find throughout our solar system. It drew their attention, and it caused them to use the Cassini probe to make extensive observations of Enceladus. And this most recent disclosure is most intriguing because, again, of what they're talking about, that it may be covering a salty sea. I'm quoting now from the article, "Saturn's icy moon Enceladus conceals a salty ocean beneath its frozen surface, scientists now suspect. The finding might have implications for the possibility of life on Enceladus." Folks, I'm mentioning this not because I believe that there are advanced societies of extraterrestrials that have developed there, but again, you need to understand that in the last 12 weeks approximately, NASA has been dramatically reshaping everything that they had told us for the previous 5 to 6 decades about the potential of astrobiology, of extraterrestrial life. This article provides another example of how they're letting us know that even on the moons, as close to us as within our own solar system, they are, in fact, pointing toward these potentials. The salt-rich ground, I'm going to try to skip forward here in the interest of time. I think I'm going to leave this piece up to you. Once again, if you'd like to do the research on it. I will continue with at least one more piece. The way that they have found this information is that these geysers have been erupting from Enceladus, and the geysers are containing this salt water that have been able to be captured and measured or analyzed by the probe. Probing for life is the next section, the last section of the article itself. Scientists searching for extraterrestrial life have long considered liquid water a primary requirement for its existence, so an ocean under Enceladus's surface provides another potential target. The water samples are thrown in front of the spacecraft by the plumes, so they don't have to do deep drilling to analyze the material. Similarly, astronomers pinpoint bodies outside the solar system where life might thrive. They tend to focus on planets close to stars where temperatures are warm enough for liquid water. But folks, that's another layer of the contradictions that they've been providing. Because in these other articles, as we've talked about, rogue planets, these planets that are free floating through the deep recesses of space, these rogue planets that are not in the orbit of a star of their own as the Earth is in orbit around our sun, they've disclosed how these rogue planets could host extraterrestrial life. And to make an exposition of that, I point to the article dated 10th of May, 2011. The title is How Rogue Alien Planets Could Host Extraterrestrial Life, written by Charles Q. Choi, Astrobiology magazine contributor. Interstellar planets, those without stars to orbit, could serve as havens for life, according to a new study. Folks, they've long time used this term called the Goldilocks zone, referring to the idea that a planet would need to be kind of approximately in the same distance away from its sun, from its star, as what the Earth is away from our sun, in order for it to provide the right combination of temperature and also liquid water to support life. NASA's blown all of those ideas, those understandings of astrobiology out of the water long, long ago, and yet for public consumption, they've continued those myths to be the case. In fact, if you have children in high school or maybe even in college, I almost guarantee that you'll find that term Goldilocks zone, or at least some other term attempting to make reference to that. When as far back as June 25th of 1998, I hold in my hands a report from NASA Ames Research Center, Evolution and Ecology Beyond the Planet of Origin. It was a workshop that was conducted. And in this report, I can point to the subsection, which is entitled the quote-unquote habitable zone, otherwise known as this Goldilocks zone, for terrestrial life is much broader than previously thought. And folks, that's only for terrestrial life as we know it on Earth, and they go through and make a listing of all of the findings that we've made on our Earth alone that had demolished our previously held paradigm of the conditions required for life. I wish I had more time in the program to make a thorough exposition of that particular report, but I have given you the title of it, and so you can use the power of the internet to find it for yourself. It's at this time that I want to return to what I have been calling the bombshell report. Folks, in all of these decades, because of that Brookings Institution report, which informed our government and our military that people were going to have a meltdown, those are my own words, when the time came that they learned of extraterrestrial life, because they were afraid of that meltdown, they have deemed it national security ever since, and that's why all of this information has been held at the highest echelons of power, at the capstone of the pyramid of secrecy, of the hands that are behind the scene, the hidden hands. And folks, in that time, in all of their efforts to mislead and to veil the truth, they have continued the center of their efforts, which has been to mislead us to believe that the Earth is a rarity in the universe in terms of our presence of liquid water, that once you get outside of the Earth's atmosphere, water itself is a rarity. And yet in these last weeks, I've shared with you again their disclosures talking about how the moon itself, our own moon, has an abundance of water available, how even under the surface of Mars, there are vast oceans of water available. And now, folks, comes the bombshell. My inside whistleblowers have told me, and this goes back several years, but they said, Antonin, when the time comes that you hear a certain announcement made, watch closely, because something significant is bound to follow in somewhat short order. And that announcement that they told me about was when we finally reached the point where they would disclose to us just exactly how abundant water actually is throughout the universe. And folks, yesterday, July 22nd, again on space.com, we find the article entitled, Astronomers Find Largest, Oldest Mass of Water in the Universe. And I begin to read. Astronomers have discovered the largest and oldest mass of water ever detected in the universe, a gigantic 12 billion year-old cloud harboring 140 trillion times more water than all of Earth's oceans combined. That was trillion with a T. 140 trillion times more water than all of Earth's oceans combined. And you heard me correct. They estimate the age at 12 billion years. I continue. The discovery, and now I'm going to pick various quotes in the interest of time. We have Jeff from Idaho waiting patiently on the line, and I'll try to get to Jeff momentarily. The discovery shows that water has been prevalent in the universe for nearly its entire existence, researchers said. Folks, that water has been prevalent in the universe for nearly its entire existence. Because the light we're seeing, yada, yada. This is Alberto Bellato of the University of Maryland, one of the co-authors of the study. This discovery pushes the detection of water 1 billion years closer to the Big Bang than any previous find. Now I want to jump, again, in the interest of time, to the mega bombshell element of this, which is usually the way they do it, folks. They do not come out. They will not come out. They will never come out quite directly. You'll never see our president sit down calmly in front of the desk and make a thorough exposition of this subject matter. But listen to this next quote.